Well,
Bring it back to at the next meeting. Or bring it
yeah.
off.
Well, we actually, do we have to really postpone it? Or you can just comment that it's off the agenda. They decided, who took it off?
Brian and the developer just says not ready to go. He wants time yet.
Technically.
So Steve told me to take it off.
Okay.
Well, Steve asked me to put it on
Yeah.
hold until the next meeting.
Okay, but then we'll just postpone it till the next meeting. That'll be our motion.
Don't want to give it a date. We just want to say the next meeting. In
Okay.
case it gets pushed, we have to call special public works meeting before.
Okay.
Just postpone to a
Okay,
future meeting.
we'll do it. All right, we're ready to go. It's 6 PM. We'll call this meeting of Public Works and Highway Committee to order. Attendance shows all people are, committee members are here except for Rick Miller, who is absent and excused. I will entertain a motion for approval of minutes from April 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th.
I'll second, seeing that Bill wasn't here. I also like to introduce Bill Nyrider, who is our newest member of the board. As you know, Art is no longer with us, and Bill has taken his place. So welcome. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it's unanimous. Moving on to public comment. Anybody out there who would like to make a comment? Okay, we have no one. We'll move on to new business. Introduce engineering department, civil engineer. Larry, I guess that's you.
Me. We do have a new staff member start actually December 29th of 2020. Eli Brula is sitting in the back. Stand up and wave.
Hi, Eli.
Eli is actually a Wisconsinite. He grew up in West Bend, attended West Bend High School, went to UWM Milwaukee for engineering, and then he wanted to go and move out to the mountains in Colorado right away. And not quite sure the reasons why he wanted to come back, but him and his wife moved back here in December when he accepted the job with Germantown.
Glad you're back.
Big asset to the village and very sharp individual.
Okay, when did he start?
At December 29th, is that close?
Why are
Right
we
in
first
there.
meeting you now? Yes.
I've kept them busy.
Okay, well, welcome. Okay, we'll move on to B, dump body purchase.
Good evening, everybody. Just will call out right away that since we turned in our backup and the meeting here, we've had just a small change, which hopefully you guys are seeing a hard copy of. The change brought about $53 in difference. Doesn't change our recommendation in the end. But let me just give you a brief overview. Many of you probably saw the new ambulance that the fire department had at the board meeting a couple meetings ago. We have inherited their old chassis. It's a 2017 with 59,000 miles on it. We added money in the 2021 non-borrowed capital account to purchase and have added onto that chassis a dump body. The reason for the change, we were originally going to have a toolbox with a shorter bed. We ended up going with a longer body and a dual fold down. And so that project, if agreed to tonight, will move forward. I will make note that we are not recommending the low bidder. And Matt from our shop went out and took a look at all these different manufacturers and bodies, and he just felt that the quality of construction with the Casper unit was better for the village, going to be long lasting. And I will add also that we do have 2 or 3 Casper bodies already, and they're treating us very well. So we're asking for permission to go with the Casper. We don't anticipate that the invoice is going to go over $19,605. However, due to the volatility that we're seeing in all kinds of areas, we're just requesting that we could use the entire $20,000 if there is any kind of variance in the cost of steel or that kind of thing between now and the time that the truck gets built. So if approved, we're recommending not to exceed $20,000, and we would use account 10-542-570-8100 if approved.
Okay, Scott, committee? Yes, please. Yeah, let's do a motion first.
I'd like to make a motion to follow the staff recommendation of contracting with Casper's Truck and Equipment in an amount not to exceed $20,000 from the account 10-542-570 8100.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And discussion, questions?
Is 300 and some odd dollars enough of a cushion?
I'm really hoping it will be. I don't anticipate it going over. Yeah, I know it's not much of a cushion, but yeah, I think we're going to be okay.
Any more comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Moving on to grant funding for fluoride equipment.
Wish list exceeded amount. So what we're listing is the funds of 49,076 be used so we can buy updated equipment.
So Paul, we didn't have to match anything? It's just a straight out grant. How can you refuse that, right?
We have like, it's called kind of more generic equipment, so we can buy whatever we,
Mhm.
so as long as it's invoiced before, whatever, up between now. Well, how fast, once we pay the invoice, how fast would we be refunded by the state? I think it's like 60 or 90 days. Okay.
Can I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to follow the staff recommendation of purchasing chemical analyzing equipment and programming under the Department of Health Services Grant Program not to exceed $49,276 and charge it to account 50-73-253-065-10 and be reimbursed by the state of Wisconsin.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Opposed? None. So it's unanimous. Thank you, Paul. Moving on to wastewater superintendent on a blanket purchase order for the recycling center for material processing.
We bring this forward every year. This just allows us to process materials in a timely manner without having to come and get POs every time we do the work. The money is budgeted. This is not the entire budgeted amount. This will give us 8.25 days of material processing, which will account for spring brush pickup, fall brush pickup, fall leaf collection, disposal, and normal quantities of material that come into the center. We have approximately 8 hours in reserve in the budget yet in the event that we have some sort of a freak storm, straight line wind, something like that. The company we use for this is Enercon. They're based out of Hartford. The nice thing about using Enercon is they also have a fleet of 100-yard semi trucks. So they take our overburden of material. We're currently producing about 5,000 extra yards per year that we can't get rid of. And they take that off of our hands and they give us a reduced price for the grinding in exchange.
Awesome. Ready? Motion?
I'd move that we approve the blanket PO to Enercon for an amount not to exceed $30,000 and the funds to be allocated from the recycling budget line item 10-546-570-7960.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Questions or? Every year we do this. This is pretty typical. So we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Then on to the blanket purchase order authorization for Ferguson Waterworks.
Here again, this is an annual request. This is kind of coincides with the upcoming 2021 road projects. We like to get materials in inventory for the start of that work because we follow very closely behind the asphalt paver when they're putting down binder. We're right behind them building the manholes. So actually, these next three requests are all for that same 2021 road projects.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to contract with Ferguson Waterworks for the amount not to exceed $25,000 for manhole repair materials from account number 60-83-0-53-0-83-13.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Shall vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. It's unanimous. The next blanket purchase order for Core and Main. Is that yours too, Tim? Yeah,
Yes.
That's it. Same thing.
it's the same thing?
Yep.
Basically, okay. You need a motion? And
I'll make a motion to contract with Lad Tech HDPE not to exceed $16,000. Money from account 60-83-0-53-0-83-13.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Beat you to it. Discussion, none. We'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. It's unanimous. And then the final one for Tim, the blanket purchase order authorization for Adapter Inc.
I'll make a motion to approve a blanket purchase order with Adapter Inc. for the amount not to exceed $20,000 for chimney seals to be paid from account 60-83-0-53-0-83-13.
Second.
Discussion? Vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Moving on to H, Developers Agreement for Heritage Park North.
It's me.
Okay, Larry?
So this development was first brought forward by a different property owner last year, and this development agreement for Heritage Park was approved at that time. That developer took it right to the point of the agreement being approved. The only thing he fell short of was bringing the earnest money you need to have when you sign the agreement and proceed further. I think his funds got tied up a little bit, and then he couldn't proceed with this development. We've had many other developers, probably 4 of them or so, have come and looked at this development. This developer that is looking at it now, I believe it's called Home Path. They are requesting to move forward, and so we have a revised development agreement for the new developer. And basically what it is they've agreed to use the same construction plans that were previously approved. All the items in the document previously approved would still hold. The changes are more that the name of the person on the contract, mostly things like that, like housekeeping is really the main changes to it. I think the costs change a little bit for the financial. Again, it would be what his costs are now today rather than what was there before. It doesn't really affect us except for the fact of how much the earnest money is when they have to bring it forward. I don't have it in here right now. It wasn't completed, but we usually bring these forward and I'll have these all set for the village board meeting. The committee usually just approves this to move forward a favorable recommendation to the village board, who is required to approve the development agreements.
Has legal reviewed it? And
Yes.
approved it?
Yes.
Okay. Committee?
I would move that we approve the development agreement for Heritage Park North subdivision as submitted.
I'll second. Discussion?
Yeah, I got
I'm-
questions on this. They want to build 2 model homes before final plat is approved.
Mhm.
It's one of the questions, and then the other question is, does the cluster mailbox fit in with the existing residential area that is there? Or is this a deviation from the existing surrounding?
Well, the cluster, we'll answer the first one. The mailbox issue is something that just came up last year from the Postal Service. Renwood had to address that and modify their plans a little bit because the post office basically planted their feet and said, you will have these in your development. Harvest Hills, they were a little more lenient on that. That project was previous to Renwood, and they let them do some like 3 mailboxes in a group and not the big cluster ones like you see now at Viridian and you see at Renwood. So they always find a little piece of land within the right of way or off the right of way a little bit so the plows don't hit it to accommodate placing this. I don't have the exact location of that yet, but they have enough with the way the land is, the development is laid out. There's several areas that they can find this. It's not a huge area. They usually like to put them near the entrances when people are coming in, like off of Division or something. They find a spot like Viridian. If you've seen that, that's how that one is placed.
So it's a post office requirement.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. No, no, we are, their feet are firmly planted. Yes, you will have these, I call them gang mailboxes. And what was your first question, trustee Hudson? Yes. So the way it's written up, we'll let them build 2 model homes. They want to be able to start that before the final plat, which would mean everything will be done and accepted, but we wouldn't give them any occupancy permits, which would mean a water meter, things like that, prior to everything else being done. It just gives them the advantage of starting that a little bit earlier in the year for them so that the house can be built. Kind of at the same time, some of the rest of the subdivision is being built, but they would not get an occupancy permit until the final plat is done. At that point, everything, record drawings, everything has to be done for the final plat. They probably have 2 model homes they want to just build to show as spec homes, general floor plans, general finishes, and I'm not sure how many different models they have. I believe they said they had, I thought they said they had 4 or 5 type floor plans to put, which they can change the outsides, kind of like what's happening in Renwood also. In total, I believe it's 35 lots. I have to look. I'm going to say near 1/4 acre lots. I think they are. 5. Yeah, I don't know if I have a plan in here. Yes, yes.
Went
It
through
matches
planning?
right up. Yes.
okay.
It's been vetted all the way through. If they was vetted all the way through, if they would have brought their check in and signed the agreement last year, they would have been building this already. So, yeah, and that, just to understand that it changes, but it's open for review. If there's something else that the new board would like to see, members, I mean, we can address that also. I'm just saying previously, this was all approved. There's a lot of wetlands in there. There's a lot of open area. Part of the reason some of the developers didn't want to take it on was because there's a lot of cost per lot that they can't spread out over enough lots. But this developer wants to take it on and do it.
Has the financial background of the developers been researched and looked at? So we
I
know-
believe the attorney checked that out. But they have to come in with a full letter of credit or a bond or a cash bond or before we even let them put a shovel in the ground. That's part of the final signing of the document. So we have enough funds in there. The financial sheet would calculate the value of the public improvements. And that's what we would want to complete would be the public improvements. And that's all the development agreement addresses is the public improvements. And so the funds that they estimate to build the site, I review those to see, make sure they're not just kind of lowballing that. And then that's what they would have to get for a letter of credit or a bond. If someone wanted to put cash in, we would accept the cash as a method of guaranteeing the project also.
Does that cover then both lifts? Is there 2 lifts of blacktop then that go on? Does that
Yes,
cover both
covers
lifts?
everything. We get their total cost, estimated cost to build it, and that's what they have to bond.
Any more questions or comments?
The only other thing I'd like to say is I'd like that the walkway or the path that they have to put in to take out the phrase 4 to 6 feet and stay at 6 feet and not shrink down to 4. I'd like that to be a consistent 6 feet.
Four is pretty skinny.
4 is pretty skinny.
It is, and I'll make that note. I'll make that note on it. I'll just verify. I think that might have been at that area where that house protrudes out into the right of way. It might have been that the path got a little skinnier to maneuver past that house on the east side, the north end of this project. It may, because it gets near the road, and but I'll double check that to make sure, and I can understand consistent with.
Yeah,
So
please.
I'll make that note.
Thank you.
Motion? We don't.
We do. Yeah.
Okay. Any more comments? Discussions? Questions? Vote all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The next one, a developer agreement for Capstone. Larry, you said you would like this.
We'd like to
postponed?
request this one to be able to postpone until the next Public Works Committee meeting,
The next one for sure, or should we just postpone it till a future meeting?
future meeting.
I'll make the motion to postpone item I, developer agreement for Capstone, till a future Public Works meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. It's unanimous. Moving on to J, Germantown Gateway Corporate Park, release of developer agreement.
So this one was something that the village attorney had brought forward. And if he's not online, I will be covering this tonight. What it is, it's the Zilbert development, the very first development, Gateway Crossing, the Briggs and Stratton building. There are two buildings. And they are in the process and applied for the building permit for the fourth building, which would be north of Briggs and adjoining the water tower and well site up near Rockfield Road. And so what the release does, the attorney informed me it does, is that it just confirms that the work that was required of them is completed and all accepted. It does not release them from any other guarantees that may have been established in the developer's agreement. It's just to release that. And what this does, it enables the developer, since he's had all the funds for those three large buildings already committed to those buildings, it would enable him to have more assets to continue on to build, more development, and especially in this park also.
Village attorney, you said has reviewed and is okay with that.
The village attorney has reviewed this and signed off on it.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the release of the developers agreement,
Actually, partial release.
partial release, excuse me.
Mhm.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to K, MS4 annual report. Is that yours, Larry?
Yes, again, this is, we're a member of the MS4 community. Annually, we have to submit a report on what we do to abide by the regulations of that program it's involved in items like how many times do we sweep the streets, how many inlets do we clean a year? And there's a requirement that they would like villages or municipalities to see who are members of the MS4 community. And we do this report every year. Through the year, you see us bring in a quote and approval to pay. There's an organization called Sweetwater. They do all the public advertising for just about every municipality that's a member of this MS4 community. We have to show that we did contract with them also. So it's a matter of the reporting back to DNR and MMSD that we are following the regulations of the Wisconsin Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit that we're a member of. And that's all this is, just reporting back to the committee that we have filed the report on the village's behalf.
We've ever have any problems with these reports? You ever come back to us and question us, or?
I have, in my time here, I've never had a report come back to us.
So you just need us to accept this and send it on to the village board? no?
This is the first year that it's fully computerized. Last year was somewhat digitized. This year it's totally, you fill it out on the site.
Kind of nice.
So it actually made it a bit easier. Actually, I used an engineer from Grafe to complete the report. We just get information from Scott from the streets side and everybody who contributes to it, and we just feed the information to him, and he completed the report for us.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for the approval of the 2020 MS4 annual report.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we will vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Moving on to new business, EMC sign.
So the EMC just stands for Electronic Message Center. And that is the new sign that's sort of been in the works for about 3 years in
For the
different,
village, right?
for the village in different spots on my desk. It actually will be situated right out here at the main entrance off of Mequon Road on the east side of the driveway, kind of like where that little tree is right now. And then the existing sign would come down.
Work on with the library. That
Yes,
was-
that two-sided sign would come down. There is a picture of it in your documentation. The colors are random. Our printer doesn't print really nice colors. You'll probably see better colors on your screen. So the whole structure, except for the top curved part in the Village of Germantown Public Library, all that area would be laser cut aluminum covered with white backlit. The cap would be metal, and the base and the vertical part would all be masonry. And we had a low bid on it from Lemberg Electric of $53,080. Creative Sign Company was the other bid submitted that was submitted completely of $61,730. And we recommend that we would award the project to Lemberg Electric for the amount of $53,080. I want to point out there is other work involved in this project that the Highway Department will be doing. They'll be doing the excavation for the foundation and pouring the concrete foundation. Lemberg Electric does include the electrical work. We've spent previously about $8,000 to run the correct wiring and electrical circuit from the room in Village Hall here about 2 years ago. That sign that's existing out there runs off the current street lighting system for the village, and it wasn't enough power. We didn't want it to go on and off with the photo eyes. So we ran electrical out. That was about $8,000. So the electrical is sitting out there waiting for the sign. We're all set that way. If there's any other questions with it, I'd be glad to answer.
I think just for anybody watching, what has been the process on this, Larry? This has been going on for over a year. It went through Plan Commission. Did it go through that special building committee?
Yes, so the process was to decide, we had several designs of signs to arrive at the final design that we've arrived at. I put, I believe it was 6 options out at the Village Hall here on a board in the lunchroom and asked for the employees to give their selections of 1, 2, and 3. Then we took it to the library, and the library staff gave their vote on it, 1, 2, 3. There was a write-in vote, which is the one we actually are building. Then we brought 3 choices to the village board, and each village board member at the time voted on which one they liked. This sign was almost unanimous. I think there was maybe one other member who selected a different sign configuration. And so that's how we got to the option we have. There is a really nice drawing that Lemberg Electric did, sort of presentation how it'll fit in. The color selection will be done yet for the masonry and everything. So it has gone to Plan Commission. It's going back to Plan Commission the next meeting, just to more or less deal with that we're going to do masonry instead of the aluminum things of those nature. It has already been to the Building Oversight and Construction Committee. It has been to that one. So it's been through the realm of committees.
Okay, perfect.
We were just waiting to get a final bid out there and get a bid on it and select a contractor to bring it forward.
Okay. Committee?
Can I just ask a couple of questions just for my own knowledge?
Sure.
When you say it was approved by the Building Oversight Committee, was that because the sign is over the code, or is it just that they normally look at that?
Well, it's kind of a different situation. You know, I took it to them because of color selection, material selection, maybe location, rather than just I myself or engineering department staff selecting all that color. I don't do colors. I don't do them at work. I don't do them at home. I don't do colors. And so we're going to, and now we'll take the colors back to either the Plan Commission to select or the Building Oversight Construction Committee to select colors. Trustee Baum is on that oversight committee. It used to be Art Zabel. I'm not sure who's on it now. I didn't look at who's you're on it. So that we would come back to that committee and just go one more, like a brush over it, to see what we want to do and get some final approvals. We brought the water tower that's coming up for painting to that committee, which I'm going to be bringing back for color selection and logo selection.
The pavilion at Fireman's Park.
Okay.
Anything that we feel like, particularly municipal, we send through them because they have a different degree of expertise. And
Well, don't ask my wife how good I am with colors.
So, issues with this.
To award the
Yeah, it's already-
construction assigned to Lemberg Electric.
the sign's been approved. We're just contract awarding at this point.
we can discuss your issues. But maybe I can answer your questions and maybe it's not the issue you think it is.
Well, it's a story and a half tall. It's 15 feet tall. It's 15 feet. Design is masonry and colors to me from to match the library or the village hall. I don't think we've got that diapering as Dan Wing educated us. It doesn't match either one of these two buildings in that color. So I have concerns that it's too big and it doesn't fit in.
So I can address the color, I can address both issues. The color issue is one that we will bring the colors forward to the Building Oversight Committee for color selection. These colors are just to show a pattern, but not the color selection. I agree that, I think probably what should happen is that the bottom masonry, again, isn't true value here to what the buildings are, but we would try to match the buildings as close as we can. And probably even to match the buildings more, the dark squares on that pattern on the vertical tower section, maybe that should all be inverted where the light color should be a little darker and the square should be lighter. And if you look at the village hall and the library, you'll see that's the pattern. You'll see, and we're gonna match the two buildings. We're gonna make it blend into the two buildings. As far as the size, really can't change that for what they all wanted to see on here. We went with a very large screen. The screen is 4 feet by 8 feet. We thought that'd be best on the highway with the speed on Mequon Road for visibility. And again, that went through all this selection process prior to this, and no one pointed out that was a size that wouldn't fit in there. Actually, when you sit out there and you look, the two buildings are very tall. The library is very tall. It was supposed to be a 2-story library. It'll never be it, but the roof is very tall. So I think that yes, it is a tall building, a tall structure. I think it's still going to blend in with the right colors. We don't want the colors to jump out. We want the colors to blend in with the two buildings. Ironically, the two buildings weren't designed to match each other. They do contrast each other a little bit. So we're going to try to pick and choose from the two buildings and blend those colors in.
This goes to the Bills Committee next, right?
Well, it'll go to a village board next for approval
And then
of the
we'll go-
contract, and then I'll take it to the Building Oversight Committee for,
Let's go back to the plan committee then.
it's going there just to let them know that we're building at a masonry and that, but Jeff Retzlaff said it's not really an issue. They pretty much approved the design of it.
Yeah, as far as
It's the contract of the other side.
yes, that's it.
Yeah, it's building this whole thing. It's not just the electric, it's building this whole thing. Lumberg Electric builds this whole structure. We're participating in the fact that I'm subbing out the masonry to another contractor. And then, so the masonry part will be built as a separate contract than Lumberg Electric. Lumberg Electric is responsible for everything above, between the masonry, let's put it, and the cap on the tower. Electrical to it, the sign, things like that.
It's just that contract we're voting on.
This is in budget? Money has been budgeted for this?
Oh, yeah.
The money's budget, and in addition, we have been working with the library, and the library board has also committed in their last meeting to contribute money to the project. So it's a combination effort between Village Hall and the library to build this.
Follow up a little bit on Bill's question with size. How much bigger roughly is it than the one that presently is out there?
So the one screen where the lettering is, that's 4 by 8. That alone is 4 by 8. It's probably 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall, maybe. But the sign itself, that white part where the letters go in, that is 4 by 8.
That's what this is then?
Our sign is 4 by 8.
That's not
Yeah.
that big, really.
We're well within our sign ordinance then.
Yes, we're well within our sign ordinance. That's been verified through Jeff Retzlaff.
Okay. I have to admit, I have had experience with Limburg in the past, and they do quality work.
Good to hear.
They do work at AmFam Field now, if you want to call it Miller Park. They've installed those signs. They do a lot of large scale work also.
I remember, are they Fond du Lac or weren't they here? Oh, sorry, down here, okay.
They're in the area.
But
Yeah.
they do very good work.
So we'd be looking for approval to award the contract to Lumberg Electric for $53,080. I will add that the total cost of the sign is near $70,000 with when you throw in the masonry and the plantings that are required around it. But the plantings will be done. The planting will be done by our street department. The contract for the masonry is I got a range of $14,000 to $15,000, so that falls in below $25,000 limit where we have to publicly bid it. So I'll be working on getting that contract signed with them also.
All we're doing is voting tonight on the contract.
Contract for Lumberg Electric to build a sign part and any aluminum parts that are in there. That's what they build and construct onto our masonry.
Do we have a motion yet?
We don't,
I'd like to make a motion to award the contract to Lemberg Electric in the amount of $53,080 and forward it with a positive recommendation to the village board.
any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to our final item here, railroad crossing determination by PSC and the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads.
So at the last Public Works Committee meeting, this topic was just briefly brought up. We couldn't discuss it. It wasn't on there, but I was asked to bring back to this meeting an explanation of exactly what it was, because we got a formal notice from the PSC to our office of a violation that we created on Freistadt Road at this railroad crossing. There's a history behind it. I won't go too much. It's all in the backup here. Back in 2014, I'll highlight. There were numerous accidents occurring at the intersection of Freistadt and Maple. They went through a traffic study through Grafe Engineering. One of the recommendations was, and the cost value recommendation was to create a twiddle, a two-way left turn lane. That's that middle lane with two yellow lines that you're going to make your left turns out of. Well, and the bike lanes. What that created was basically a through lane through the railroad gates when they come down. And when the railroad noticed that, that's when the generation of this violation started occurring. So the requirement was that by May 15th, by May 1st, the village, and if you've driven it lately, there's a certain distance that we went back. I think it was almost 150 or 200 feet from the railroad crossing east and west. And the highway department painted the cross hatching that was item 1 of 2 required by this notification. So we completed that on their schedule. Basically what that does is create a crosshatch area in the twiddle, which is in driving notation is stay out of there. So that's what the first thing they wanted. The second item is that we can apply for a petition to have, I think it's either to have the barricades extended or modifications made. And that has to be in by May 15th. And the village attorney is in the process of drafting and filing that petition with the PSC. So that is a little bit of the history. There's a lot more history in here. And I included the notification from the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads in here also. It came across as, as a mail delivered where you had to sign for it. It was very official. Caught our eye definitely right away. They had a very tight timeline to do the initial striping of the twiddle area. And as our highway department always does, they came through and got it done for us. Rain held off and they could get that done for us. So we are in compliance right now as far as what this notification has instructed us to do. Our next date to meet is the 15th in filing our petition. So it's really just for an update and discussion. There's no motion, anything needed on this. It's just to inform the committee of the situation that occurred out there. Now, this is also the intersection that we have the HISSUP funding for, Freistadt and Maple. And that intersection, for the new members, we had basically a $1 million grant to improve that intersection. The plans are done. It actually is going through a DOT bidding process on their letting is May 11th. And so on May 11th, we will know who that contractor will be, and probably a month after that, find out what the start date will be. That intersection is going to be reconfigured geometrically. There's going to be turning lanes, stoplights, basically to make it a full-fledged operating traffic intersection there. Some of the issues with that was right turn, northbound right turn. Is a bad movement there. But there will be dedicated turning lanes with traffic lights to control all movements in that intersection by the end of the year.
So that project will be completed by fall.
It should be completed by fall pending the delivery of the traffic controls and lights. That always seems to be a hang up. Pre-COVID, it was always a hang up. The DOT used to award a contract and then give the contractor permission to order the materials prior to the contracts even being signed, just so they could get a month or 2 month jump on the order and delivery process. So no one's really sure how that's going to pan out as far as getting it done, but what they plan on doing is constructing everything, all the flat work, put the foundations in and the conduit and wiring in. And if we have to wait and operate any stop signs for that period of time, we'll be operating any stop signs.
Know roughly how many, has there ever been, I'm sure there's been a traffic study there
Yes,
as to how many cars a day go through that intersection?
I could get that for you. I just don't have that at the top of
Yeah.
my head. Yeah, but there's a full study done by a company called Taddy that performed a complete
That is a
study.
dangerous intersection.
So,
Especially around 7 o'clock in the
Right.
morning.
and the timing's perfect because we're just finishing up on Freistadt and Goldendale. That's being paved. That'll probably be all paved by the middle of next week.
That's a
So it's
fast
gonna be
project.
done
Mhm.
before June, then, more than later.
The Freistadt and Goldendale, yes.
Yeah.
You could see that opened up maybe by the end of next week if everything goes
Wow.
right.
Okay.
That's a fast project.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to drive west down Freistadt maybe for a whole month
Mhm.
before it gets shut down again.
So again, this is just for discussion and information purposes.
Okay. Moving on to projects update. Anybody see anything in the projects you would like additional information on?
Did we get the reinforced base for project number 5? The base that can hold the tower?
Yes, that is the previous, if you keep these at all, the previous report, I had a picture of it, the excavation done and the forms going up, which now this is poured concrete, the floor, that is the floor for the tower that, like you walked out in Tower 3, that's the floor. Everything you see sticking above the ground there is what was below those insulation panels in Tower 3. So this is ready for steel. I am told the steel won't start, I have it in here, I believe it's around August is when they first predict they'll start erecting the steel.
The list of roads that are under the 2021 road program.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not questioning them at all, because I know you guys do your homework and look at it. But it's always amazing that right away, as soon as you get elected, the first thing your neighbors come and ask you about is specific roads. So I'm glad to see this list, because I could tell them their section of Maple is not on here. But do you go pretty far out in advance, a couple of years, to know what you might be doing next year?
Yes. If you would go on the website and go underneath engineering, you will find there's a 5-year paving plan map on there.
Super, thank you.
Now that is up for change. It's just a guide.
Will
Correct.
change.
You know, like
Yeah, 'cause
two of the
emergencies.
two of the roads on here were actually in the 2022 paving program. What I like to do is we cost all these roads out. We have $1.5 million. I like to try to bid out 1.4-ish in case we have overruns. And then I bid out 1 or 2 alternates. In case the bids come in very favorable to us, then and we're underneath the 1.5 million by enough, we could throw in another road without trying to ask for an extra after the fact, because those never work in the owner's favor. So we get competitive bids right away for the alternates. And this year we were able to add 2 of the 3 alternates in. Lover's Lane, Maple to 145, and Main Street resurfacing were both alternate bids that we were able to include because of the bids that we have on the main roads in the project. So that'll change 2022 and 2023, and it'll all get moved around. And but as a main guide, it's not the 5-year plan is on the website.
When are we projected to start the roads?
The pre-con is, I think it's the May 11th in that area. I heard the contractor saying he's thinking of starting them right after Memorial Day, beginning of June.
Okay. So I guess any more questions or comments on anything? Okay, so that concludes our meeting. We're gonna have to set another date. Generally, we do Wednesdays to accommodate schedules for summer, and we move back to Tuesdays, Bill, in the fall. 6 PM is generally our time, if that works for you. And it's also generally the first Tuesday of the month, but we can, if people have conflicts, we can like move it to the second or whatever. So that would bring us to, it would actually be June 1st. Does that work for everyone? Okay, so 6 PM, June 1st. Larry, Janice, that's good for you, right? And with that, we'll conclude this meeting of Public Works at 6:44 PM. Thank you, everyone.